The Great Depression began in the United States in 1929 because of a dangerous combination of economic weaknesses that had quietly built up during the prosperous 1920s, and it unfolded through a chain reaction that reshaped American society and the global economy for more than a decade. Throughout the 1920s, often called the Roaring Twenties, the U.S. economy appeared strong on the surface. Factories produced cars, radios, and household goods at unprecedented rates. Cities expanded, and the stock market soared, convincing millions of Americans that prosperity was permanent. However, beneath this optimism were deep structural problems. Wealth was unevenly distributed, with a large share concentrated among corporations and the richest Americans, while many workers' wages failed to keep pace with rising productivity, limiting real consumer purchasing power. To maintain consumption, Americans increasingly relied on credit and installment buying, which created fragile household finances. At the same time, businesses overproduced goods, assuming demand would always grow, leading to unsold inventories and weakening profits. The agricultural sector had been in crisis even before 1929, as farmers expanded production during World War I but faced collapsing prices afterward, leaving them deeply in debt and unable to spend or repay loans. The financial system amplified these weaknesses. Banks were lightly regulated, many were small and unstable, and a large portion of deposits was invested in risky stock market speculation. The stock market itself became a symbol of easy wealth, fueled by speculation, margin buying, purchasing stocks with borrowed money, and the belief that prices could only rise. By 1929, stock prices were vastly inflated beyond the real value of companies. When confidence wavered in October 1929, a wave of selling triggered panic, culminating in the stock market crash of October 24th, Black Thursday, and October 29th, Black Tuesday. Although the crash did not by itself cause the Great Depression, it shattered confidence, wiped out billions of dollars in paper wealth, and exposed the underlying economic weaknesses. After the crash, banks that had invested heavily in stocks or loaned money to speculators began to fail, and because there was no federal deposit insurance, frightened depositors rushed to withdraw their savings, causing even solvent banks to collapse. As banks failed, credit dried up, businesses could not borrow to operate or expand, factories cut production, and millions of workers lost their jobs. By the early 1930s, unemployment reached around 25% in the United States, with some cities experiencing even higher rates. Industrial output fell sharply. International trade collapsed due to protectionist policies like the Smoot-Hawley tariff, and deflation set in, making debts harder to repay and discouraging spending. Ordinary Americans suffered immense hardship. Families lost homes and farms, breadlines and soup kitchens became common. Shantytowns known as Hoovervilles sprang up, and social mobility stalled. The crisis also had global consequences, as American banks recalled loans from Europe, contributing to economic collapse abroad and political instability, especially in Germany. Initially, President Herbert Hoover believed the economy would self-correct and relied on limited government intervention, which proved insufficient. The situation began to change after Franklin D. Roosevelt took office in 1933 and launched the New Deal, a series of federal programs aimed at relief, recovery, and reform. These measures included public works projects to create jobs, financial reforms to stabilize banks and markets, social welfare programs like Social Security, and new regulations to prevent the excesses that had contributed to the crash. While the New Deal did not fully end the Great Depression, it restored confidence, reduced suffering, and fundamentally changed the relationship between the federal government and the American economy. Full economic recovery ultimately came with the massive industrial mobilization of World War II, which ended unemployment and revived production. In the long run, the Great Depression left a lasting legacy. It reshaped economic policy, strengthened financial regulation, expanded the social safety net, altered political alignments, and deeply influenced American attitudes toward risk, government responsibility, and economic security, ensuring that the lessons of 1929 would shape policy decisions for generations to come.